if you know that sound, it just sounds like money.
That's a pretty wicked bike for first time street riding.
Yeah.
It wasn't even the fact that it was 1,000. It was just because
Or you break off your clutch lever. This guy.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Under the Helmet. Since you guys loved the first episode so much, we're going to bless you guys with a second episode. Welcome back. I'm joined with Memphis. How you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful.
It's a
How are you?
Beautiful day. It's the best weekend of the year.
Best weekend of the year.
So
Bike weekend.
Bike weekend. Well, we got a couple questions that I know you guys are dying to know the answers of. We got our hot takes last time of the Blackbird, the Hayabusa, what bikes were taken, but today we're going to be talking about ourselves. So let's get right into this. So our riding journeys haven't been too long. Obviously, we haven't even been old enough to really ride for years and years. But when you first started riding, or right before you started riding, what was the bike that you were just lusting after?
I think when I first got into motorcycles, that was at the time when the Husqvarna 401 and 701 came out. And I don't know why, I just really liked them for some reason.
There's a big hype over those bikes. I know. I think it was Yami Noob made a video on it, and that video went crazy. And
I like the styling of them.
Yeah, I've always liked them. Anytime I see one riding around, that's a cool looking bike. Yeah. But was there a Halo bike at the time, or kind of just not really?
I didn't have I wasn't super versed in the motorcycle world where I was just looking up new bikes at the time.
You're just oh, this is cool.
Yeah, I was a dirt bike guy my whole life. So
how the RC51 happened in the equation?
The RC51 came on me through another friend, my coworker. He has a lot of motorcycles, and he's like, I just love this bike, but I don't ride it enough. And he's like, I'll sell it to you for a really good price. And I'm like, whoa, okay.
So there wasn't oh my god, I want an RC51. It was more hey, this is an RC51.
Yeah.
Probably not a great first bike, but it's a good price. You should probably buy it.
Yeah, and he's like, if ask your parents, and he's like, obviously it's 1,000, so
yeah.
He's like, but you've ridden before, so I was like, oh, okay. It's like at the end of the day, it's a machine. He's throttle input is what is,
And it just turns out that it's a phenomenal bike.
Yeah.
Because I was looking for one when I went out buy one. It wasn't RC51. I was looking for months. Yeah. It was very, very hard time.
I got it at prime opportunity. Yeah. And it just kind of worked out perfectly. And he started telling me the history behind everything. And now I've fallen in love with motorcycles in general.
Yeah. Honda.
Pretty much on me. Yeah.
Was the R51 before the Honda love?
No, I always loved growing up as a kid. Honda. I had a 50. Then we had a 125, and my dad had a 250 that I couldn't barely touch the pegs on, but I would ride it.
That's pretty sweet. For myself, there was one bike that right before I was getting into riding. Obviously, I knew motorcycles. My dad had always had bikes, so I knew a lot of bikes. But even though my dad had the Buell, whatever, for some reason, when I was 17, 18 years old, CBR 1000, 2007 Repsol.
Dude, the Repsol is so cool.
That I remember, it was either right before I got my license or just right after I got it. Right, it was. We were in Chicago, and I was looking up. I'm like, dude, there's got to be a CBR 1000 Repsol somewhere. Yeah. And it was specifically an 05 through 09 or 05 through 08. I don't love the 09 faces. My favorite is the 07. They change them every year, unlike now where they keep them all the same for forever.
They look exactly the same.
Yeah, but back then they used to change the faces. There was the Hawkeye and the the Blob Eye. Yeah. They're not Subarus, I promise you. That's actually the thing.
It's a Subaru.
Yeah, but that's how there's the Hawk face and then there's the Blob face. But I don't know what the Blob is called, but the Hawk is called the Hawk, I believe. And that's the 07. That was my favorite. I was like, I want this bike so bad. They were $10,000. Now they've come down a little bit. So I'm now I'm really, really tempted because I still want one. And then it connects back that Nicky Hayden raced them.
Yeah.
I think he was racing Ducati at one point, and I think that was towards the very end, if I'm not wrong.
I believe so, yeah.
Right, so it went RC51 Repsol.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh man.
Your new gen.
Yeah, I have never rode a CBR of any kind. I don't think. Thinking back, I don't think I have, other than my Hornet, which is technically a CBR motor, but it's a naked sport bike.
If we qualify the Blackbird, technically it's a CBR 1100.
Yeah, it is a CBR. Yeah, I would give you that. I've never rode a Blackbird.
Two of them.
Yeah.
Turbo? Not turbo.
Yeah. Subtle flex. But yeah, I think that was the main bike. I can't think of any other bike. If for some reason, it wasn't even the fact that it was 1,000. It was just because the Repsol livery looks so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, the orange wheels, the everything. I don't know. It's just
they're cool bikes.
It just did it for me.
I love any racing like around us. The Doritos.
Yes.
Racing on those bikes are so cool.
Yeah, they have a Gixxer, a Yamaha, and a CBR this year.
Yep.
So I'm excited to see those bikes on the track tomorrow. They're so cool. Doritos, if you want to bring us out to any events, please.
I love those drinks.
Yeah, the drinks and the bikes.
We're big motorcycle guys, so
I love the branding behind. I don't know. It's just weird to see like Doritos. You know, it's like an OG like Coca-Cola, Marlboro, whatever. It's like a company that doesn't belong in racing, but doing racing stuff.
It works.
Yeah, and it's the coolest thing in the world.
And they're clean looking bikes, so white with the Doritos logo.
Yeah, pretty nice. So I mean, we touched on this a little bit, but your first bike was a RC51.
Yep.
What was the first bike you ever rode, other than a dirt bike, like on street?
What was the first street bike I ever rode?
Bringing you back.
Yeah, I think the Harley was. My dad had a CVR 600. I remember it was yellow. Probably
like an F4.
Yeah. Like
a early mid 2000s. Yeah. That's a pretty wicked bike for first time street riding.
Yeah. And then my dad has a Ducati
748.
748.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fun bike too.
Yeah, I was at the racetrack, a little bit of a side tangent, but dude, I was at the racetrack. I love hearing Ducati dry clutches. It's not that it sounds good. It just sounds cool. Like just like
broken.
Yeah, it's I was probably, halfway across the parking lot on the top grass, and I heard I'm like, "Oh, there comes a Ducati." And I turn, I'm like, "Oh, there's a 999." It's just, I don't know. It's something so cool, but at the same time, it doesn't sound good, but it's cool. I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, what if you know that sound? Just sounds like money.
Yeah. Yes.
Sounds like money.
Yeah.
Kind of
but if I didn't know what the dry clutch would be, I'd be like, dude, this thing's about to blow up.
Yeah.
Like I'd be like, dude, what is wrong with your bike?
If I was getting into motorcycles and went into starting a Ducati or whatever, I'd be like, ooh, you put gravel in the motor?
Yeah, like what is wrong with your bike?
Yeah.
For me, first bike I ever rode on the street was the Buell. And that is a horrible bike. I remember for a while the bike was misfiring. It wasn't behaving properly. The fuel pump was jamming up. My dad didn't ride it for a couple of years, and it was when we moved houses, all of that. It was probably 15, maybe 14, give or take. And he ripped it up and down the road after he got it running a little bit. He's like, "You want to take it out?" I'm like, "Sure, I guess." Took it down the street. I knew how a clutch worked. I had driven high horsepower cars, which, in my opinion, it does make a difference.
Yeah,
because you know how the clutch works.
The concept
and I'd been on dirt bikes and stuff before that, so it wasn't like, just there. But I never rode a bike on the street, so I never really rode a bike on the street. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll ride the Buell." And I'm like, I'm like, "Oh, dude, this is so fun." And then I don't know if you've ever gone down my street, but there's a roundabout, like a cul-de-sac. So I started just tweaking when I took the corner, and I'm like, dude, I don't know if I can turn this thing around.
Yeah.
Now it's like I could do it like in this much space.
Yeah, give me this table
but
here.
I had a massive like cul-de-sac, and I took the entire width of it because the problem was I wasn't going fast enough to like lean the bike or anything. And the Buell is a very like choppy bike and very stiff. So you need to turn it and muscle it. And I just pulled the clutch in and I just walked it.
Yeah.
I turned it around and I was like, I don't know how people do this. Obviously now I get it and I could just go around that thing, no problem. But yeah, it's weird.
Well, the first time I rode the RC51, it was my first time running a motorcycle in, I would say, 5-6 years.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, yeah, take it down the street." I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, sure. He's like, you drop it, you got the money. So, yeah, I take it down the street. He's like, be careful. Like, I don't know if any of you have ever ridden an RC51, but the first gear is very deceiving. So you let out the clutch and you're moving. And I was like, oh, I'm chilling then.
Yeah,
and then you let it out all the way and you kill it.
Yeah.
It's very tall and...
Yeah, I'll get into the clutch of the RC51 in a second. That's actually something I want to talk about. But what was it like after that?
So once I killed it, and then he's like, everyone does. So then I started up again, and I got it going. I went down, I think I got to second or third gear. Mm-hmm. And come back, he's like, you didn't open it up enough. So he hops on it, takes it around the corner, and I hear him just banging gears. And then he comes back, hauling ass, and then he comes around the corner, and as soon as he comes around the corner, pops it up and the wheelie. Rides the wheelie all the way to about 5 feet in front of me and puts it down. And I'm like, that's cool that my bike can do that, but I sure as hell can't.
I want to get to that point.
Yeah.
I'm so scared of dropping my bikes.
Yeah.
Because I need a bike that I'm not afraid of.
I need a bike that I'm like, oh, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, my dirt bike is that, but there's no good place to take... I mean, if we had a supermoto setup, and I could take it to a parking lot, great, but the dirt tires get just destroyed.
Hurting yourself isn't fun.
Yeah, I mean, like a Grom, stunt Grom.
Yeah.
You drop it a couple times, you fall off of it, the bike falls on
Crash
you.
Bars or whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But it just...
Yeah.
Did your RC51 come with the white?
Yeah, so I have... He put on the whole Nicky Hayden front and rear setup.
Just not the sponsor stickers.
Just not the sponsor stickers. I have all of the original stuff for it. Mm-hmm. They're stock pipes. Black and
hanging.
Yeah, they're hanging. So I have literally all of that, and that's all. And then when he owned it, he even dynoed it up in Green Bay.
Yeah,
I think it was like one. He has the. I think I'm pretty sure he has the dyno sheet.
He didn't tune it, did he?
No.
Mine needs to be tuned. I have a power commander on it, and I think my bike has been tuned really bad, or it's been chip tuned or something. Because your bike feels faster in certain power bands. Like when I rode your bike the other day, I was like, this feels a little bit more healthy. My bike, it's fast, obviously. But it doesn't feel like where it could be. I think it's been tuned and not done properly, so I want to get a dyno tuned and actually get it proper. This is going to sound like a kind of a dumb question. Does Woody the Woodpecker come on a standard RC51, or is that a Nicky Hayden thing?
I think that's a Nicky Hayden thing.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I always see... I understand why, because it's the coolest thing in the world. I didn't know if that was a Nicky Hayden thing or not.
I'm pretty sure it's a Nicky Hayden thing.
Huh. I have to pay more attention.
Black doesn't have... I'm pretty sure it doesn't have it on it. A lot of people throw them on.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I was looking at my bike the other day. I'm like, I wonder if this is part of the graphics kit. Because if it isn't, that's a lot of dead space right there.
Yeah, it's kind of a perfect... it would be weird.
Because if it's not there, I'd be like, dude, these aftermarket fairings? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it doesn't flow.
Yeah, it doesn't flow. Woody the Woodpecker is one of the coolest, racing things. It's great.
Yeah, that ties that bike together.
Yeah. The next thing I want to get into, getting back to the RC51 clutch thing, what are some of your motorcycle hot takes? I got one of mine, I'll say right away. I don't like hydraulic clutches.
That is pretty high. Crazy.
Don't like them.
Cable clutches.
I'd rather have a cable. It feels like a stronger bite point. It's more consistent. They don't fail, and if they do fail, it's $15 instead of, now I got to find a rebuild kit for my master cylinder. You don't have to service a cable, really, because in all reality, unless it's been parked for years and years and years, you don't have to lube cables up. In a dirt bike, it's a little different, but for street bikes, once the lube from the factory wears out, the cable's done. And, well, I've had motorcycles that are, 15, 30, 40 years old with the original cables on them. The bike's just been maintained and cleaned.
Yeah.
I don't like hydraulic clutches.
Yeah.
And I think this comes from, I'll tell you where this comes from. Not only do I not like how they ride, my VMAX hydraulic clutch failed. I rebuilt my Ducati hydraulic clutch, and that was before I had even rode a hydraulic clutch. I forgot the RC51 had one, but I don't hate that one.
That one's not bad.
That one's not bad.
Flush mine last year.
Yeah, mine
because mine was sticking.
Yeah. I tried to do that with the VMAX, but it just failed.
Yeah,
It needs to be rebuilt.
Yeah.
The BMW hydraulic clutch, I don't care for at all.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
That one's weird.
Yeah, and that's how I feel like most hydraulic clutches are.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing. I think it's pretty crazy because hydraulic clutches do have a lot of benefits.
No, yeah, for sure.
I agree with you. They're simple. Cable's simple.
Yeah,
You can't go wrong with cable.
Unless it's, a modern leader bike or whatever. If I'm buying a street bike, with the VMAX, I understand it because it's a 145 horsepower from 1985 and they were trying to put all the tech on it. But my Hornet has a cable clutch and I would not wish it any other way. Simple maintenance. I know it's not going to fail. If it fails, $15, new cable, pop it back in.
Yeah.
You can't really beat that.
Can't beat that, no.
Yeah, R51, I understand it. It's a race bike, or homologated race bike for people in the comment section, but I understand it. It is what it is. If I'm going out and I'm buying like a Africa Twin, I don't know if those are hydraulic or not, I just want a goddamn cable.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's simple.
Yeah.
Especially in that bike. Imagine you're out 1,000 miles from friggin'
Oh,
nowhere.
my hydraulic clutch failed.
Yeah.
Given, most new bikes aren't going to have failures. My VMAX failed because it's, 40
Or you
40
break
years.
off your clutch lever. This guy.
Hydraulic clutches still have clutch levers.
Yeah, I know.
The guy who we bought Grady's bike from, yeah, I don't really like the cable clutches.
Yeah.
I'm not used to them. I like hydraulic clutches. Hydraulic clutch on a dirt bike?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what's the point?
There's none.
There's no simple maintenance.
Yeah.
I don't see. There's no heat factor. I understand, like for MotoGP,
That makes sense.
or like to cutting edge technology in the 80s, they were doing it like your bike doesn't have a hydraulic clutch, but now we've got to the point where it's retro's kind of cooler. Simple maintenance is nicer.
Simple maintenance is way better.
Yeah. Moving on from hydraulic clutches, I wanted to bring that up. That's something I've really been talking about recently. You got any hot takes? Now, I know what you guys are saying. You guys have been seeing us wear these sick t-shirts all summer long, been wondering, yo, where do I get one of those? Well, they are now officially live on the VintageRacingClub.co official website. Not only are these t-shirts super sick, but they're also really high quality because that's what we do. Buy your t-shirts now!
My hot take is that electronic systems on super 1,000-liter bikes shouldn't be a thing.
Like traction control and ABS?
Yeah, fuck all that. If you're a good rider, which if you're riding 1,000, you should be a good rider. I bet you I can brake harder without ABS than with ABS.
Yeah, that's fair. That's also a reason why we prefer older bikes. I get the take you're trying to make, but also at the same time, we'll say this. A lot of the stuff nowadays is not the enthusiasts, it's the lawyers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They don't want a guy, this also boils down to, I think, break-in procedures. They don't want someone buying a CBR 1000 RR and pinning it to the moon and sending a wheelie down the street and not have wheelie control or traction control,
That's
and then
bullshit.
he just dies.
I want to see more loops.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
If you're going to give me a 200 horsepower bike, let me loop the bitch.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that. I at the same time, I think it should have them, but I also think there should be an option to just say, I'm just going to pull this fuse and everything's off.
Yeah. You know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, because I feel like some people should have them. I mean, there's...
Or if you were to say that leader bikes and maybe even 600s don't have some of these features unless you pay extra for them, but in order to ride 1,000, you have to get an extra license.
I think it should be reversed. You have to pay extra to get them taken off.
Okay, but do you think that, like other countries, it's harder to get onto a bigger bike? Does it really work for America?
Yeah.
Because Harley Davidsons make 12 horsepower and they're 1,600 cc's.
Yeah.
But do you think it should be that way if they have less nannies?
No.
This guy was 16 years old on a leader bike.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to say no.
It's right here, dude. This is control right here. The little wrist.
All right, this isn't gonna be hot. This might be a hot take for some people. For other people, maybe not so much. A bigger bike shouldn't be a beginner bike. Meaning, you can't just get on a big bike and be like, oh, just don't take it over a certain RPM. I think that's stupid.
That is dumb.
For a number of reasons. I saw someone make a TikTok on this, and it was, oh, just respect your machine. You know, you can get on an R1M. She was on a R1 or something like that. Oh, you can get on a machine like this and just don't go over 8,000 RPMs. That's not how it works.
No.
The multiple reasons why.
I cannot go over 8,000 RPM. I can just flip the throttle, and guess what? A lot of those bikes have so much torque.
Yeah.
At 8,000 RPMs, I mean, and below, like, you can loop. You can do a lot of damage.
It's still fast.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the R6, if you're going 6,000 RPM and you pin it, nothing happens.
Yeah, nothing's gonna happen. Yeah.
Yeah, but look at let's say a beginner is getting on an R6, where just don't go over 6,000 RPMs. The problem is there's a couple of them. Number one, a beginner rider, might not necessarily know by hearing the engine what RPM they're going at.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be focused more on, oh my god, I can't go over 6K.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you're not going crazy, I can understand it. But with a beginner rider, there's gonna be that temptation to just go.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
And then there's gonna be and you're gonna take her to 16K, and then you're never gonna ride it again because it scared you.
Yeah.
But also, it could get worse. All of a sudden, you've never taken the bike over 6,000 RPM, and one day you're like, I'll go take a corner. What happens when you hit, 10 grand on a R6? You get power.
Yeah, the light. It just
lights it up. So you're going. Oh my god, 8,000, 10,000, burp, dead.
Yeah. Gone.
Getting a bigger bike, number one, boils down to smaller bikes are more, how do I say, friendly to you being a little dumb on it.
Yeah.
You pin the throttle on a small bike, you're going to lurch a little bit.
Not a lot of damage can happen.
Yeah, you pin the throttle on an R1.
Yeah, a lot.
And you're going 4,000 RPM. If you pin it, it's going to kick hard.
Yeah.
And if you're going at 10,000 RPM, you're going to die.
Yeah.
So to say that, just hop on a smaller bike or hop on a bigger bike and don't take it on the RPM, don't do that.
Also, going off of that,
we both rode Leader Pluses as beginner bikes, but
so don't take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
But I think it's a kind of a scam. These new dealerships saying get an R3 and start on that bike.
Oh yeah, I also agree with that.
And getting an R3, I guarantee you in 3 weeks you'll be like, all right, I've had enough of this bike.
So here's where it boils down. I think there's 3 different types of people hopping onto a motorcycle for the first time. There's me and you, people who know how to operate clutches, people who, kind of were born around this world. Mm-hmm. So it's very second nature for us to hop on a bike. You put me on a Buell, and, I had enough in my brain not to go, it goes to 8,000 RPM in my neighborhood. Let me go to 8,000 RPM and see what happens when I try to take this turn like Marc Marquez.
Yeah.
There's the brain capacity, there's the experience, there's the secondhand nature, and then there's a second person. The second person is the person who won't outgrow that R3, right?
Yeah.
They won't hop onto that R3. They're going to take, a couple of months to learn what we learned second time riding.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe not that long, but, it takes them twice as long as we did to get into it. And I'm not trying to say that I'm better than anyone or anything.
No.
It's just...
There's always someone significantly
better. There's always going to be someone better than me, but I'd say, we are in the top 1%, if not the top 5% of
I would say top
beginner riders, because I've seen a lot of bad riders. There's a lot of bad riders out there. We ride level-headed. The goal is to make it back.
Yeah, I'm trying to set a freaking world record for point A to point B.
Exactly. So, there's a lot of dumb people out there, which doesn't help with the statistics and everything, but not everyone learns as fast as we did.
Yeah.
And then there's this third person that that R3 is the best they're ever gonna do for like a couple years.
Yeah.
Or, in the same vein, the person who fails the MSF course 3 times.
Yeah.
Not
Sure.
everyone is built for riding a motorcycle. I think everyone should try it, and if you're into it, like, you can do it. But there's people who kind of, it's like either, their friend is doing it or whatever, and they're like, I'll try it out, and then they're just not fully committed into it. I think that the commitment thing is the problem.
Yeah. Well, and in that course, a lot of times people, for example, in the course I was in, it was a husband and wife. The husband already had his license, but he did the course with his wife.
Yeah.
And he bought her a Harley or something, so she went on a larger Yamaha bagger bike on the course.
Yeah, people don't get the right fit bike for them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which she was in way too big of like a weight size bike for learning, and she probably shouldn't be driving that bike anyways.
Yeah.
Get on a TW200. That's what I was on.
Yeah, a great bike.
A great bike.
Yeah, Chris laughing behind the camera. He learned on the TW200. But yeah, I mean, people don't jump into the right bikes. And, there's a bunch of fantastic YouTube people out there who's like, this is the right bike, this is the wrong bike, all of those things. I do agree that beginner bikes have become a little bit too much. There's like too many, like the 650, the 500, the 400, the 450, the 350, the 250. There's so much just like, let's narrow this down a little bit. And I think a lot of it has to do with, cylinder numbers changing, where right now we're transitioning from like the 350 becoming a 400, but a twin instead of a 3-cylinder or 4-cylinder or whatever it is. But I don't think that if you're a first-time rider, you need to get the sport bike. I think you would agree with this.
Yeah.
The best first bike for someone who isn't like us in the top 5 or 1% that can get on the road and comfortably. And I'm not saying that, we were capable of riding that leader bike or whatever. We just could do it and not hurt ourselves.
We respected the machine.
And it wasn't that we went out and we're like fully comfortable. We just were comfortable enough to make it back.
Yeah.
The second I hopped onto a smaller machine, my riding level increased astronomically.
Tenfold, yeah.
Because it understood, I can get this bike down a little bit more here, there. But like I was saying, I think you'll agree, the best first bike for someone like that is a dual sport.
Yeah, dual sport, or
they're light.
Yeah, I mean,
decent horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, more. There's not more you can ask for. You can cruise on them. I also really like a Honda Rebel.
If you're not gonna take it off road, I could understand that. Yeah, it's still
smaller frame size.
Yes, lower seat height. Yeah. Dual sports are a little higher seat height, so maybe for people like us who are a little bit taller, maybe want to take them out on some trails. If you live in Colorado, Michigan, places that have them, where it's like I can just turn the corner and
go down this dirt road or whatever.
The other thing about dual sports is compared to when we're looking at some of these R3 or whatever it is. We're dogging on the R3. I don't think it's a bad bike.
No.
It's just, they're so expensive.
For what they are. I mean.
Dual sports don't really lose too much value. They kind of hold at what they are new. You might lose a few $1,000s, of course, with any new machine you do. You buy a couple-year-old dual sport, you're not really going to lose too much money on it.
Yeah.
And it's, I've rode this bike for 6 months. You did a season on it. You can sell it for as much as you bought it for. And I think at that point, you could jump into a R6 and not hurt yourself and not keep it under 6,000 RPMs.
You understand power comes in and what to do in a corner.
It might take you, a week or so to start respecting the machine more than you should for the first week, where it's like, I'm not going to full throttle it and I'm going to learn it a little bit because it's a little bit of a different style of bike. But the same principles apply of leaning into corners, turning, all of that. And dirt riding is hard.
It humbles you fast.
Yes. It's made myself as a rider much more confident. But yeah, I mean, if you get your butt kicked a couple times on some trails and you dump your dual sport, oh well.
Yeah.
then you're like, oh, now I won't dump my R6.
Dumping a sports bike is a lot worse than
Yeah, because it's fairings, dude.
yeah, fairings. Yeah,
Even like a naked bike is like, I gas tank, maybe a side cover or a bar end.
Yeah.
And your bike is half scratched up.
Yep.
Sport bike? You dump an RC51, dude, you're
cooked.
bankrupt. Fairings cost over $2,000. You can't even find them. You're done. Just throw away your life savings.
Yep. Pretty much just throw more money at it.
Yeah, more money. At that, if you dump an RC51, I genuinely think if the crash is bad enough where underneath the bike is fine, but it's just the fairings, you're better off getting a new one.
Yeah.
You're better off just buying a second RC51.
Trying to find fairings and plastics, good luck.
Yeah.
Honda, at least now.
Honda, please make them. Please just make them. Your fairings crack, your plastics crack. The bikes are legendary. Just make some new ones.
That goes for all your bikes.
All
the RCs.
All their plastic.
Everything.
All Honda plastics have had a problem since the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
My CB bikes, the side covers will break. My Hornet has a little crack starting on the fender. RC51. Dude, just make them a little thicker.
Yeah, my front, what is that called?
The nose?
The nose cone.
Yeah.
There's a big bolt.
Yep.
That cracks, and then my front fender
And
by the bolts they're
and
cracking.
the under tray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something crazy. You know the Vincent that Throttle Stop has?
Mm-hmm.
That bike has the plastics. Those things are like that thick. And they're like lacquered, and they're made from they're not too heavy from my understanding, but if you look at that bike, if you look at a lot of them, you'll never see them with cracks on them because they've been lacquered. I think they were like the material that they were making boats out of at the time. just robust.
Yeah.
I mean, start making stuff like that. Find a way to make it lighter.
Yeah, don't make it heavy.
Yeah, find a way to make it lighter.
Carbon fiber. Yeah. What influenced you to start riding?
That's a good question. I think there's two big factors of it. Well, we live in a very kind of motorsport area. My dad has always had motorcycles, and that is definitely a very big influence. But I was never really allowed to get my motorcycle license in high school. It was always like, no. And then I finally convinced my mom to do the MSF course with me, and I got my license, and I started riding more. I think what influenced me into getting into it was my dad had bought the R9T, and that was a little bit before I got my license. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I kind of want to start riding. It wasn't like my dad was really into it at that time. His motorcycle buying and fixing and everything had died down a lot. The R9T was the first bike he had bought in maybe like 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
So like he wasn't like, he had bikes, but he wasn't like super into it. Yeah, he was focused on other things, and he bought the Racer, and that kind of re-sparked my interest in it. Yeah. And ever since then, it's been history. It was just, got onto the... I had rode motorcycles before that, obviously, but he bought that bike right after I graduated high school, and it was like, I'm going to try getting my license. Let's see if I can convince my parents to get my license. Yeah. And I took that bike out for a ride. I think I probably took the Buell or the Honda GB out, and on a first real ride, probably without my license, and it was just like love at first ride.
Yeah.
Where it was like the first real ride.
Yep.
On the street. I was like, I need to get my license.
Yeah, it's such a freedom to have.
Yeah. It's, to describe riding to a non-rider or people who think it's dangerous or whatever, it's like if you... Obviously, some people struggle riding motorcycles, but if you can like get on a bike and just ride it down an open road, there's nothing better.
Nothing better. I don't care about music, nothing.
Yeah.
Just listen to the breeze. And
pop some earplugs in and just...
Yep. Nothing.
I gotta wear earplugs now. I can't not.
This pretty good at at canceling stuff out.
Yeah, my helmet's not. I need to get a new one.
And when you put the Cardo system on, pretty cool.
Does that help? Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, because they're like pretty nice. They got like JBL speakers and everything in them. Okay. And then,
Yeah, I never understood how they hook up, but we'll leave that to a different video. What got you into it?
I think the junior summer going into my senior year of high school, I started working, and my coworker who has all the motorcycles, we just started talking because he has, I don't know, 15 motorcycles. And I've always had dirt bikes. When did I buy that? Probably my freshman or sophomore year.
We've always been around them.
Yeah, I bought a 65 two-stroke KTM because our other buddy Grady had a 65, and I rode that, and it was a weapon.
Yeah.
65 two-strokes are wild. And then, so that kind of was like, oh, I mean, a street bike would be fun.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what intrigued me into like the Husqvarna 401s.
Yeah.
It's kind of a...
So like you kind of fell down the rabbit hole because you had been on the dirt bike, and then it was just...
And then I went over to his house once, and I saw freaking cool looking motorcycles, and I'm like, what? And then, it was like, he showed me that bike, and I was like, I gotta have that. I think I grinded for 4 weeks. Once he was like, oh, I'll sell it to you. I grinded for 4 weeks not buying nothing.
Yeah, I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Food? No, I don't need it.
Don't eat it. And I was shocked. My mom said, "Oh yeah, you can buy this 1000cc racing motorcycle." And then it was just done. It was just, I'm hooked.
Did your mom know what the bike was, or it was kind of like 1,000? That's kind of big, Memphis. But if you want to,
well, my mom, she had a Harley Fat Boy, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I mean, she knows motorcycles.
Yeah.
I've been around Harleys like my whole life. Maybe that's why I hate them so much.
I don't disagree.
Anytime I park my RC51 next to a Harley, I'm like, my V-twin's significantly better than yours.
They're outdated. They're not our flavor.
Yeah.
There are some cool ones.
Don't get me wrong, there's some cool... I saw a video the other day of some dude mobbing a dual sport Harley.
The
Americano, I think.
Yeah, no, that's not what it is.
No?
It's something like that.
Sick. I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, they are pretty cool. I've heard they're
black and red. It was kind of awesome.
But that's Harley doing something like finally different than the cruiser they've been making since the 70s.
Yep.
So I think they're capable of making good bikes, and now they're piecing out of Wisconsin. So I mean, we don't have to care about them anymore.
No darn hogs.
Yeah. Talking about Harleys, what's a dream road trip that you think you'd want to do? Whether it's in Europe, in the States, bike and location.
Dream road trip would be awesome. Following the coast, just going from like the northern part of California all the way down, and then cutting across Mexico, and then
all the way down Baja or like down Mexico.
Of Baja.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun.
Yeah, and then cutting over to getting to Florida, and then doing the East Coast.
So just a massive,
just giant,
like 5,000 miles. Yeah.
Humongous.
What bike would you take on that?
You would definitely need
RC50. What?
No, not a chance. If also RC51, love the guy, love the bike. Riding more than an hour, don't do it.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Unless you got a good back and you don't want a good back.
Yeah. Exactly it. You need. I mean, the Cadillac's a Goldwing, but through some of the desert, you might have a tough time.
Yeah.
Coming back to old trusty, Africa.
Yeah, it's just such a good bike for doing road trips and stuff.
I do really like the BMW. I don't know
the GS,
the models, but their dual sports look sick.
Are you talking about the one with the Boxer, or like the smaller one?
The Boxer one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen their 450?
No.
It's like a baby adventure bike, 450cc parallel twin. I don't think it's out yet, but they like showed it at EICMA. I think it's EICMA, like SEMA for motorcycles. Or yeah, it's one of those. They showed it at EICMA, and they had this whole thing. I'll show you after it. It's really cool. It's like a baby adventure. Imagine a smaller.
That would probably be perfect.
Yeah, imagine a smaller Africa Twin 450.
Yeah, it would be perfect.
With BMW graphics on it.
Yeah.
Literally what it is.
I've heard really good things about BMWs.
Yeah.
Like their
Offerings.
offer.
Yeah.
They're cool looking bikes.
I'm trying to think of. I think honestly, I'd want to do a Euro trip just because I've never done one. I think it would be fun to go from northern UK, cut down all the way, cut all the way to Germany, maybe through Italy. I think that'd be really fun. I think it'd kind of be a little bit, more of a, back to an Africa Twin VFR 12X type of tour. I think it'd be really fun to do it on an old British bike.
Yeah, going through.
Yeah,
I mean,
like if you had a couple people, just like a well-maintained old British bike.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Or another cool trip would be around Australia.
No, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Australia's big, but
yeah, that or Japan. Japan on like either old Honda.
I would say put me on old CB something. I would love to do that.
Yeah, that or even some of like, imagine like the RZ 500, something like crazy two strokes or the CBR 250 RR that revs to 20,000 RPM. Yeah. Like bikes like that where they're not available here. Just some crazy Japanese stuff and. There's a lot of great roads out there. A lot of it's empty.
Put me on a Smoking Joe.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know, just something bright.
Yeah, just something. Through. Yeah. Take the plastics off. Make it pink.
No, purple.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just saying like, just crazy. Like crazy. 250, make it pink.
Yep.
Make it lime green.
Put me on a Ducati dirt bike. That's going to be...
Needing a valve service halfway through the road trip.
Yeah.
If you had to, I think this is going to boil down to a little bit of everything, but if you were to go onto one racetrack, you want to take a motorcycle out on a racetrack, I think I got the perfect 1-2 combo. I'm going to try to see if you can maybe convince me otherwise. What racetrack and bike would be like the perfect track day?
I think Spa would be pretty cool.
And the bike? Because I'll tell you mine right away.
A Ducati V4S.
Okay.
But like, hella aero on it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Like track bike.
So, great minds think alike. My track is also Spa. Spa is like my favorite track of all time. I love it. But my bike would be a MV Agusta F4.
I was thinking of that too. An MV Agusta would be cool.
MV Agusta tracked out at Spa is just great. Nürburgring, whatever, overrated. Spa is where it's at.
Or modern aluminum frame CR500 supermoto tire setup.
On the Nürburgring, kind of go crazy.
On the Nürburgring would go pretty good.
Because you can open it up pretty good.
Other than the straightaway where you're just going to be...
You might blow it up.
You're probably going to blow it up there. But the shorter track.
Oh, yeah, the Nordschleifer, I believe.
Yeah.
Or is the Nordschleifer the full one? I think the Nordschleifer might be the full one.
I don't know the whole terminologies of the Nürburgring, but...
We're going to get canceled.
Yeah, probably. But, like, Nürburgring would be good because it's tight.
I'd also love to either drive a car or ride a bike. Ideally, I don't know. I feel like just the experience of a motorcycle on a track. Again, same thing with the road. It's just so much more visceral and engaging.
Way more engaging, and you have that sense of safety in the kind of the back of your head.
Yes,
where the conditions are going to be perfect.
Yep.
Like around here, you got to be careful for tar. Like if it's really hot in summer. I've almost done really bad things, like going around a corner, you hit a tar patch and.
Yeah, we're gonna have to bleep this part, but if you're going to taking that road,
yes,
and there's that one kind of, it dips down and it turns right, and all of that road is just like it's all cracked and it's unleveled. I was going on it this morning, and I came in, I'm like, no, like I should not be going this fast. That doesn't happen on a racetrack.
Yeah.
Like I was telling my mom, I'm like showing her videos. She's like, "You're not getting on a racetrack." My mom, it's more safe than the road.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
If I fall, my plastics get a little dimmed up. I might destroy the bike. I'm just sliding.
And you're going into exactly.
Exactly.
It's either gravel, sand, or grass.
Other than that, like really, really bad place to crash.
Yeah, it would
but
be
we're
terrible,
not
but-
racing.
Yeah.
We're just, having a little
And
bit of fun.
the corners are gonna go in, where it's a freaking wall, and then
Yeah.
you're not gonna come barreling into it.
Yeah. It's not like I'm trying to, overtake you on a corner.
I'm not Mark Marquez. Let's say that.
Yeah. I might pretend to be on the straightaways.
Yeah, straightaways. Yeah, put me on a MotoGP bike where I can lower the suspension.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the other track I was going to mention is Monterey.
Yeah, that would be cool. I was going to mention the Red Bull Ring.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. But something about Laguna Seca.
Yeah.
I want that and Spa are two tracks. Like, if you told me I can only, two tracks. Spa would be number one. Mm-hmm. And Laguna Seca would be number two. Nürburgring would be a very strong contender for number three. Don't get me wrong, it's still up there. I love the Nürburgring. Very intensive track. I hear the regulations and everything. Obviously, sound regulations at Laguna Seca, but gotta represent America.
You would be so dead after one lap.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't have the endurance for it.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be riding my bike halfway through the lap, like, please get me off of this.
Yeah.
I am so done.
I mean, 4 laps on the dirt bike track, you're just not friggin' Nürburgring long.
No.
You're cooked.
Yeah, dirt's a little. I think dirt's more intense.
I think so, but
I think the thing is with dirt, you can't not ride it hard.
Yeah.
Where it's like on the racetrack, you can slow it down a little bit and take some corners a little slower.
Yeah, you can be melodic about.
On dirt, if you're looking at a hill that's 20 feet tall, you
Yeah,
got to be sending it through.
Yeah.